County Board of Commissioners
Can't hardly hear you.
to order.
Is it on?
It's on me. I had it off earlier. We call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. Mr. Brown, has the meeting been properly advertised?
That's right.
Yes, sir. I don't see him in here. Okay, he's on his way. All right, thank you. Good to see everyone. We look forward to a productive meeting for the month of February. At this time, we're going to ask Pastor Henry Frazier if he would come and lead us in our prayer and our pledge of allegiance. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Father, we thank you again for this time that you granted unto us, time that you carved out from the beginning of time to allow us all to assemble in this one place at this one time. We pray now, God, that you will bless us as we stand in this place, and God, that you will cause everything to come out according to your will and your plan for this county and even for this nation. I pray, oh God, that every decision that being made today, being made by grace and by your directions. We honor you in all things because the word has declared in all things we shall give thanks. And therefore we thank you for everything that you're doing, everything that you shall do for this nation and even for this county. Bless our leaders. God, keep them in your care. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Before we get started, I know there on your agenda to the audience, rezoning petitions, one that are labeled 3 and 4 are the only two that are open for public participation. Rezoning petitions, the one that are numbered 3 and 4 are only two that are open to public participation. Should you want to participate, Mr. Brown's there with the clipboard, and he'll take your name and allow you to speak when we get to those two items. All right. The others are not, but once again, ones that says LCPC, Jeff Rickerson, number 3 and 4 are the only items available for public participation this evening. All right. Thank you. All right. We need to approve the minutes from January.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion. We approve the minutes from January as presented.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the January minutes. Any further discussion? They all be known by show of hands, please. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Moving right along, Mr. Rickerson, to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lovett, members of the commission.
Hello, sir.
The first item that we have on our agenda tonight is petition number 2022-075 LC. As Chairman stated earlier, you've already had the public hearing for this, but it was tabled at your December meeting, and you asked to have it brought back tonight. So if you'd like for me to, I can kind of take you back through this so you can just summarize where we've been so far, so you can be refreshed on what was being asked for. This was a petition submitted by Blue Scope Properties LLC on behalf of CMJ Investments to rezone 154.58 acres of land from A1 agricultural to I1 industrial for a warehouse distribution complex to be located on Islands Highway. You can see there the parcel number is 285,001. This is just a portion of that very large parcel. And this is the sign that was advertised as per your ordinance and the ad in the Coastal Courier. And this is just a plat of the property, Coastal Highway here, just the property as it is now, with the out parcel that you see there, kind of in between it, and the hooker complex across the street. And of course, here's the aerial vicinity map here, just showing the outline of that same property that you just saw the plat for. This is the hooker property and the target property there across the street. And this is the zoning map, just showing that this area is currently zone A1. You can see there's I1 over here in Tradeport, where the hooker and target complex is. And you also rezoned some I1 property out here near the interchange at exit 76 earlier last year. And this is the flood map. You can see there's no significant flood zones within this area. And the site map. This is a little bit changed from the last time we presented in September. That the applicants at that meeting in September heard the concerns that the citizens had about buffers, and they have revised this to show they've actually reduced the size of the buildings by a total of about 400,000 square feet. They've scooted them further away from this rear property line. There was a lot of concern expressed from the residents on Dorchester Village Road, so they've scooted these buildings up significantly and moved the drainage ponds to the rear. They're actually showing here some trees, woodlands that they're going to allow to remain standing there as well. So that's the only changes that we've that's here that wasn't here before, and that was in response to some of the concerns that were raised by the citizens during that public hearing.
Would you be so kind as to repeat those, sir?
The staff had initially recommended a 100-foot buffer from Islands Highway, and this map here reflects that the buildings will be set back more than 100 feet. This is the 100-foot buffer line. So this is showing the preserved trees that are already on Islands Highway, 100-foot wide. This area over here was supposed to be a 50-foot buffer, and there's already an existing berm there. So this map reflects that. There's a note on there that says that there's a 50-foot buffer along this side, along these properties here that abut Brigden Road. And then to the rear, there's a note on here that says there's a 100-foot buffer in the rear part that's I guess facing Dorchester Village Road. Dorchester Village Road is about 1,820 feet. That's about 3/10 of a mile away from this rearmost area of this property here. So that pretty much summarizes the changes here. Our zoning analysis, I went through this with you before. I can go through it with you again just briefly. The property does have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned. The proposed use is consistent with the Fort Stewart joint land use study. The proposed use does not conform currently to the comprehensive plan because when it was zoned, or when it was the comprehensive plan was prepared, this property was being zoned and used for agriculture and forestry. Number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? Our answer there was yes. While part of it is already directly across from the Islands Highway Tradeport Industrial Park, it also surrounds and abut agriculturally zoned properties, which could be mitigated by buffers, and we just discussed the 100-foot buffers that have been proposed here. Number 5, is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? And our note there is the property is adjacent. It's actually directly across the street from Tradeport East. Number 6, will the zoning proposal create an undue burden on transportation, including streets and transit, schools, utilities, and provision of public safety? Our answers there are industrial development of this property will increase traffic. It definitely will. And the county will improve Islands Highway beyond this point. And you've had extensive presentations on the improvements that will be made. And you've also, part of the reason why you held this up for this period of time was to finalize that development agreement program, which you did do last month. Next item, number 7, will this allow a short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? No. Number 8, will this change cause a domino effect and encourage sprawl? Yes, because there may be other properties that would ask to do the same thing. Number 9, are there unique historical sites that might be adversely impacted? We haven't noted any. Number 10, is this parcel in a flood hazard area? You saw the map earlier. It is not in the flood hazard area. Number 11, is it spot zoning and unrelated to the existing pattern of development? The answer is no. And number 12, are there unique conditions to support approval or denial? And our one note there is it is in close proximity to other industrial zones and can be easily accessed off of I-95 due to its proximity. LCPC recommendation, I think we presented this at our December meeting. The LCPC planning commissioners came to a 3-3 vote with no recommendation. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have about this.
The only question I have, answer the issue with was number 8, I think it was number 8. And I say that for this reason, and if you or Jerry, correct me if I get off track. When we as a commission created, for lack of a word, that special industrial zone,
Right.
and we said that would be the boundary of the zone. So how does that answer yes to? Of course, I guess our doing that came after your commissioners met, okay.
It did.
Because as a commission, we drew the boundaries that it would go no farther than the area we drew.
Well,
So there's,
this area here is within the boundary that you are, that is currently pending, so this could certainly come back and be proposed for industrial. So that's, that's one example of where approving this might lend itself to approving that, because
but
it'll
I
be
guess
sitting
it can
between-
always be proposed, that doesn't mean it's going to.
That's correct, that's
It's
correct.
going to pass.
That's correct. But this is within the area that was on the proposed change to the plan.
Okay,
But it won't go any further past that.
That's correct. That's what I heard at the previous meeting.
that's what we said, okay.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, on the last slide, the recommendations, with the changes, the different setbacks and everything, did this go back to the planning commission, or this is the original vote here?
This is their original vote. This has not been, y'all did not ask us to send it back to them, so we did not send it
Okay,
back
so
to the.
it didn't have to go back and,
It didn't have to go back.
Okay.
They've heard it, and their recommendation is what it is. It's really a no recommendation.
well, I was just wondering, did they make some changes to the site plan, and I was just wondering, did it go back before the planning commission?
It did not.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it enhances what they were requesting.
Yeah, these changes are all concessions. They're givebacks is what they are.
Yeah, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong, when we did our vote, it's contingent upon us having the fee schedule.
Agreement
Development
process,
agreement.
that's right.
Well, Mr. Chairman, part of that vote was, it personally was, I questioned, was it gonna come out on, the Dorchester Village Road? And, of course, Mr. Davis, I guess, watching or had heard, and he called me and he said, I can assure you that we're gonna keep that to where it's gonna stay the way it was historically, and also, I mean, that was my only question about that, was it gonna come back? He reached out to me, I didn't reach out to him, so, I'm fine with that too, and it might have been some of the same reasons why the planning board voted 3-3, but just unsure.
Okay, all right. Mr. Brown, now, this is not a public hearing, but the petitioner is here, so would it be in order to allow the petitioner to address, or is just now?
I think I would just recommend the board
at the
consider the
commissioners?
changes that
Okay.
have been made.
All right, all right. Chair, yes, sir.
What about what was passed out?
So yes, sir, I mean, you had a letter provided to you for consideration by someone representing some citizens down there, so, and I know y'all are aware of it, but it's there at your diocese, so you can take a look at it. And of course, and as we look ahead, I know that there's special conditions on here with standard conditions also, Mr. Chairman, but anything along that corridor would also be susceptible to that additional recommendation for rezoning, which Clint can go ahead and pop it up. We read it last time, but it's basically there is that addition to recommendation for the rezoning also that would accompany any kind of special conditions imposed by the Planning Commission, as well as any standard conditions.
All right, so we are at the liberty to add any
Correct.
of the conditions.
Yes, sir, that'd be correct.
Okay, all right, all right. Let's do this then, Commissioners. We have this information that was given to us, and we'll look at it and see how, I think most of it's covered, just at a glance, and what we already have offered, so let's, how do I term that, Kelly? Let's approve it with,
Yes, sir, I think if you adopt the special conditions here, that will address the
that would do it,
concerns.
okay?
Because
Okay.
the exact dimensions of the buffer or setback, as well as landscaping, are other mitigating
Okay.
requirements will be
Okay.
addressed in this additional.
Okay,
review
all right.
phase.
So it's covered in the, okay, all right. All right, Chair, entertain a motion then.
Chair, I make a motion that we accept this rezoning with the recommended condition that we have forth in front of us be accepted also.
All right, is there a
Second.
Motion and a second, we approve the rezoning with the recommended conditions that we have before us. Any further discussion? All in favor by show of hands, please. All right, motion passes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Rickson.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, as you announced at the,
I thought every hand went up, I missed one. One opposition. I saw that blue suit go up.
Mr. Chairman, as you announced at the beginning of the meeting, item number 2023-02 LC has been postponed 30 days at the request of the applicant. They had some internal issues they wanted to work out, so they needed an extra 30 days to try to get that. So we'd tentatively like to bring that back to you at your March 7th meeting.
March 7th, all right. 2023-02 will be heard on March 7th.
Okay, our next item is a rezoning petition that was submitted by Mr. Samuel Turner, owner, to rezone 1.62 acres of land from R2, two-family residential district, to an R4, which is mobile home and RV district, to R2A. He wants to zone the entire 1.62 acres to R2A, which is category for single-family, two-family, and mobile home residential district.
Jeff, could I interrupt just a second? You need to go to public hearing, please, for this, because you have not heard a public hearing on this one.
all right.
If you
So
don't mind, thank you.
Chair, entertain a motion for public hearing for
So moved, Mr. Chair.
second.
Second.
All in favor, show of hands, please. All right.
Okay. Mr. Turner acquired this property a few years ago and would like to replace some of the existing single-wide mobile homes on the property.
Clint, can you turn Jeff up a little bit, or? Don't make him, I know it was vibrating earlier.
Is that better?
It's a little better.
Okay. He bought this property a few years ago, and he'd like to replace some of the single-wide mobile homes on it, and the R2 zoning does not allow for that to happen. So he'd like to rezone this property to R2A, which would allow him to replace some of these very old and tired mobile homes with newer, more modern homes to use for rental property. This property is located at 150 South Bypass Road, which is near Mount McIntosh, and you can see the parcel number there, 102037. And that's one of the homes that he'd like to replace there. This is our sign, our ad in the Coastal Courier. And this is the railroad track, the overpass there at Oglethorpe Highway. This is the property here, located here on Bypass Road. There's a mobile home unit there, a block structure there, and then a mobile home back here. Zoning is kind of unusual. You get this area of R2 kind of in the middle, wrapped around this area of R4, which is mobile home park. And he'd like to just rezone the entire piece of it R2A to allow him to continue to use it as it is, but to upgrade those two single-wide mobile homes on it. And this is just a survey plat of the property showing what I just told you, a mobile home there, and a block residential structure there. His narrative, he's asking to rezone this property so he can provide a more up-to-date, safer, and nicer place for a family to live. This rezoning would allow me to enhance the aesthetics of my property as well as Liberty County.
I like the way that's written.
Yep, short and sweet. Zoning analysis, does the property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? Answer is yes. Does the proposed use conform to the J list? Yes. Does it conform to the Liberty County Comprehensive Plan? Yes. Will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? No. Is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? Yes. It will not have any negative impacts on streets, transit, schools, utilities, et cetera, public safety. Would it allow short-term gain at the expenses of our long-term goals? The answer is no. Would it cause a domino effect or encourage sprawl? No. We haven't identified any unique historical sites that would be adversely impacted. This parcel is not in a flood hazard area. This would not be spot zoning or unrelated to the existing pattern of development. There's similar development all around it. Number 12, there are not any unique conditions that we've identified to support approval or denial. So Planning Commission heard this at their last meeting in January, and they recommend approval with standard conditions. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, and this is a public hearing.
Any yeas or nays?
We have not heard any comments one way or the other from the.
Is the petitioner here?
Yes, sir. Saw him walk in.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Oh, okay.
Would you come to the, Commissioner Stevens, is this your baby? Commissioner Stevens, this your district? Okay. Just kind of tell us, we heard him speak, but just give us an overview of what you do.
Yes, sir. I'm in the rental
Name,
business,
please.
and,
Oh, yeah, give your name, I'm sorry.
Samuel Turner.
Okay.
And I own rental properties since retiring from the Army, and I try to provide my tenants the best property that I can give them, and this would allow me to do that. It just kind of opens up the option of being able to move an older trailer out and be able to put something nicer, newer back in there in its place. And it's just, kind of that simple, to be honest with you.
Stevens?
It's right next door to the trailer park that's owned by Mr. Sasser. Sasser's Trailer Park. So it's not anything unusual there.
How many are you planning on replacing?
Just one.
Just one right now?
One right now. I've already remodeled one on the back of the property when I first bought the property, and it's super nice inside. It still looks like a 1977 mobile home. So it allowing to do something nicer. I could redo this one as well, but I would prefer to just do something nicer. More up to code as well. That wiring and some older stuff is not great.
Ready for a motion, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we rezone this piece of property from R2 to R4.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Motion second to approve the rezoning as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor by show of hands, please. I'm looking good this time. Any opposition? Got my coattail pulled. Thank you, sir. 2023-004.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, our last request tonight is a conditional use request for, it's been submitted by Biddeford Preserve. Mr. Joseph Pittman is the owner of that corporation, and he'd like to create a pond through a surface mine, or a borrow pit as it's more commonly referred to. This property has frontage on North Coastal Highway and Limerick Road, and you can see there the parcel number is 237032. This is the ad in the Coastal Courier. This is the sign that we put on Limerick Road and the sign that we put on North Coastal Highway. And this is just a picture of the overall property here. You can see the frontage here on Coastal Highway and then the frontage here on Limerick Road. You might recall this is the site of the former county landfill. I think that's, it's not?
It's next door to that.
Next door to
Yes,
this?
sir. It's next door on the right
Okay,
side of it.
on the right. Anyway, it's in the vicinity of that down Limerick Road a little further. So this is the zoning map. You can see that the property has two different kinds of zoning. It's got AR1 on the front, A1 in the rear. Borrow pits are allowed in A1 property, and they're wanting to put the borrow pit right here on a 24-acre portion of this overall big piece of property here. As the flood map, you can see there are some floodplains on the property, on the adjacent property, but there's not really any floodplains on this specific area where they're proposing to do the borrow pit. And this is a survey plat just showing the overall same boundary that you just saw. And this is the narrative from the applicant's engineer, Mr. Long. Mr. Pittman's in the process of protecting the property through a conservancy, and I was aware of this. He's filed the paperwork to put this in conservation. As part of protecting his property, he is planning to create a pond or lagoon. The creation of this pond will be created through a surface mine borrow pit. Once complete, this water feature will become an asset to the property. Access to this surface mine will be through a driveway along along Highway 17. I want to say 84, but it's 17. Okay, this is this is just showing where he wants to do it. This is the overall approximately 24 acre piece of property where the pond will be, and this hole here itself is about 12 acres of area.
Where's 17, Jeff?
17 is out here,
Up there,
and
okay.
Limerick Road is over here.
Okay.
Planning Commission heard this at their January Planning Commission meeting, and they recommend approval with standard conditions. The applicant's engineer is here, and I don't see the applicant,
Okay.
and this is a public hearing.
Over here. All right, we'll hear from the applicant then. Of the applicant's engineer.
Yes, sir. I'll leave any questions for Dr. Pittman. He and I talked about it. He can't be here.
Dr. Pittman,
Yes, sir.
my mother loves you. Yeah. All right.
Yes, sir. It's just going to be a standard surface mine. It'll be permitted through the state of Georgia, through EPD. All the discharge will go away from the residents on Limerick Road or 17. Trying to want to be as good a neighbor as we can. We've got buffers that are 50-foot buffers that are required by the state. Plus, we've gone a little further than the 50-foot
Take us
buffer.
back, Jeff, to that, the map of the,
I can do that. It's right here.
okay.
Yep. So the 50-foot buffer is the area you see along the gray. So we've stayed about 50 additional feet out. Now, some operations will take place in there. Not all the trees will be there, but the pond itself will not when it's all said and done. It'll discharge through a sediment basin and then out to the marsh area in the back, so all the water goes away. It doesn't overflow into people's yards. We are aware of some drainage issues that are further back in this area right here. We found out Saturday, a week and a half ago, that there may be an old dike that may have a pipe that's collapsed that may be causing some backup of water that is more than usual in the residence areas up here. Haven't been able to get back there yet to look at that and see what we can do to get that cleaned out. But this is been a bird pond. It's been a wetland for a really long time. But for the most part, water stayed on his property over the years, if I'm correct. And then it's just the last year or so, it's really started backing out, and we just haven't been able to get back there to look at what's going on to see if something can resolve. So that's a separate issue from the surface mine, but that is something that is being worked on so that everybody knows that that's not just being swept under the rug. We're trying to make sure we take care of it.
Trent, Mr. Chair, how deep is this pit?
I think I got this one designed about 25 or 30 feet deep, somewhere like that. So, tell you what we usually do is when we design them or we lay them out, we'll usually lay them out about 30 feet deep. And usually in our area, we'll get to that blue marsh mud that you can't do about 20, 25 feet. So we design it to go deeper than what we actually go, because when you get to that blue marsh mud, you can't go very far, and you know, obviously your equipment will sink and you can't use it. But we permit it deeper so we can get to that layer.
All right. What effect do you see in the future on the homeowners in that area with wells?
Shouldn't be any problem. So the cone of depression, yes, sir, it shouldn't be. The cone of depression for this kind of water and the way this runs, unless they have like a super shallow well, we should not be pulling the water down in their wells. And we're far enough away that we should not be pulling their groundwater down. So, yeah, I can't guarantee it, but you know, my experience with them, we should be fine.
I hear what
And
you're saying.
I've done a bunch of them, so.
I hear what you're saying. You're keeping that word, and they shouldn't.
Yes. I'm always going to use that should, I'd be remiss if I didn't, and I use should and shouldn't all the time. But yes, sir, no, I don't, it's my opinion, this should not happen at all.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Trent. I've gotten a chance to speak with several of the adjoining landowners. Matter of factly, I guess I'm one of the not adjoining, but I live right in the
You're pretty
vicinity of this area. On the question that Commissioner Stevens was asking, the residents feel that we already have an active bar pit within a half a mile of this one. And we also, within a half a mile of this bar pit, we have the dump that's no longer being used. There's a lot of concern about, the water pressure according to how far we dig this, how deep we dig this one, and we already have an existing bar pit, that there will be some effect on their water pressure, whether it's shallow wells or not. That was one of the big concerns that I've heard even after the meeting we had prior to this. That was one of the concerns. We don't have nothing I see in the conditional use as far as the traffic, the truck traffic.
Yes, sir.
It said that we will use Highway 17, but I see nothing that says that is going to be how it's done.
So, just so you know on that one, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but it's permitted through the state, and we have to actually post a bond, or the owner has to post a bond, that that's the way he's going with his access. He won't be allowed to go back by the state of Georgia on the 17, on the Limerick Road. He'll have to go to 17.
Okay, so that's.
But, and he would be glad to have stipulation that he wouldn't come to 70, he would be glad for a stipulation in the zoning to disallow access on Limerick Road. I almost said it wrong. But yes, sir, he'd be fine with a stipulation added to it, not to access all the surface mine off of Limerick Road.
And another question of my concern, when we had the meeting, Mr. Pittman made some comments. He said that he wanted to be a good neighbor and et cetera, and we take him at his word with that. And some of the things that he's doing does address the issues that we are concerned about. But he said something along the lines that he could have, I guess, turned the place into a housing development and could have developed houses and not said anything, or he could have dug the pond and really not go through all of the stipulations that he is. But my understanding is once he dug a whole surface mine bigger than a certain area, acreage, that he did have to have state approval to move forward with a bar pit of this size. So he had made the comments as if he was doing this out of the goodness of his heart. But I'm thinking that is state mandated after X amount of acres that the state had to get involved with their regulations.
Yes, sir.
That was something that I wanted to address. And also the buffers, you know that we have drainage issues in this area already. And the guy that spoke the other night is willing to let us access his property so we can go and look how it would, I guess, impede on his property. Would he be willing to work with us to alleviate some of these other drainage problems? Because I think that would come across his property where the drainage would go, and that he wouldn't impede on anything that we are trying to do to improve the conditions that we have currently.
Yes, sir.
So I would be willing to approve the
Recommendation.
I guess, yeah,
With
the special conditions. Number one, no traffic on Limerick Road, and if also that the landowners, adjoining landowners experience any adverse effect on their private wells, water pressure, et cetera, that once we notify him or whoever's concerned that the construction would halt until those issues are addressed with the landowners, if they lose water pressure or any disruption in their water, that we would solve the problem before we go any farther.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to see those as special conditions before I would move forward with the,
Can we, just the one with the water well, that it would make a special condition that, you know, is stopped until it's either resolved or proven that it's not caused by the
project?
the operations?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That way, because, you know, if something happens and somebody's well has a problem that's not associated with his, that doesn't cause him to stop, or he can investigate and then start back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Am I hearing the word easement? I'm not hearing easement. To access his property to diagnose if.
Yes,
Okay.
So I did talk to him about that, and if we do find something in this area, in this area back here, he would be willing to provide an easement for us to do whatever we need to do to fix that. We think it's like a 36-inch pipe that might have collapsed or something like that, because we'd have to get a continuing easement so that we could get back there and maintain it. Obviously, we can't drain the swamp or the wetland there, but we can restore the drainage to what it was before so that it's not.
That was part of the county drainage system? That was part of the county's drainage system?
No, sir. We have not historically maintained back there,
Yeah.
but it is definitely affecting our residents up here.
Who put that pipe in then years and years and years and years and years ago?
That's a very, very good question. So I would assume one of the prior owners of the property.
From my, Mr. Chairman, from my understanding, it was, I guess, the prior landowners that had gave access. I don't know if it was a gentleman's agreement
But
or,
more than likely.
but we have been using, and the present current owner has some issues, but Trent and I, we've been working on remedying it, and I think this would help us solve some of those issues also.
Yes, sir. Because we have, it's kind of hard to see, well, it's on this piece right here. We've got some issues making sure we get the water back to this area. Oh, it's right here. Getting back there from Limerick Road to the swamp. But, you know, if we open up some of that water, we just exacerbate the problem. So we want to make sure the water can pass through.
Trent, what about fencing? Putting up fencing, security, safety wise?
He will have a fence across the front, so that you can't get in and out. Now, like a fence around the entire property, no, there won't be a fence around the entire property. You know, if you go strolling through the woods and you're 100 feet on somebody else's property, yeah, you may be able to get to the area that's under operation, but vehicle traffic off Highway 17, it's actually already got a gate there now with a code.
Mr. Chairman. Trent, in reference to what Mr. Jones, the stipulation, he said that if this project impacts a neighbor's well, that the work would stop until it's proven that there's no impact from that project that caused that. And is there a time limit? Let's say, you know, nothing happens today and the project continues, and you know, and he completes the project, and then there's something happens to someone's well 2 months from now, and they try to say that it was because of that project. What happens then? I mean, the project is complete.
Then that becomes kind of a civil suit between him and the other neighbors.
Okay. For them to try to prove that it was impacted.
Cause damage, that they would have to be him.
So, I mean, he's complete, the project is complete, and, you know, he's moved on, and 6 months from now, you know, someone cries
So
foul.
here's where the danger actually really comes in, is during the construction, when he's keeping water pumped out of the pond and, you know, he's got it down low, that's where the danger comes. Because that's when your groundwater is flowing out and, you know, your groundwater, it'll have like a cone of depression
Right.
where it goes down and dips down to whatever level we're pumping at. Once it's finished, it's gonna fill back up with water, and it will be within 3 or 4 feet of the surface, the lowest surface elevation, where the outlet is, with water all the time. So at that point, the groundwater should, I say should, it should be back equal, and, you know, there's no cone of depression, no pumping, you know.
So in other
everything's
words,
full.
if it don't happen while he's actively working there, if it don't happen then it's,
Yeah, if it doesn't happen then, it's most likely not his fault.
okay.
So, there may be other issues that are going on, and there's a world, you know as well as I do, there's a lot of issues that can happen with water wells. They're usually pretty reliable and last and work a long, long time.
I got a question, would you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Of course, I don't know, are you wearing the county hat right there? Who's the engineer?
Right now, I'm not wearing the county hat on this one.
Okay, so you're the engineer for this and the engineer for the county?
Yes, sir.
Well, Trent, let me ask you something. When he pumps water out of that pit, and he's gonna have to pump water out of it to dig, right? Where is it gonna go?
So, what happens is you do it in different stages. So, the final stages, there'll be another sediment basin that's temporary outside the pond. But for the most part, you build a sediment basin in the pond as you're digging it, and you pump into a sediment basin so that the water sits still and the solids fall out of it. And then you have an outlet structure that takes the water from not the very top, not the very bottom, in the middle of the column, to let water discharge, and it will discharge this way toward the low side of the property.
Okay, so that's gonna be on your engineering plan, the outfall pipe? So
It is.
If you've got issues with what Commissioner Jones was talking about with flooding, then you're talking about going all the way beside the pond back to the marsh, or why couldn't you go into the pond? Why couldn't?
I understand your question. So, see if I can, I don't have one that shows all the contours to really help you out a lot, but this is kinda on the side of the hill. You know, it's not the top of the hill. The water is flowing this way. The contours are running kinda laterally like an arc, like this. So water's flowing this way, this way, this way, this way. So this water won't make it uphill to this pond to take it out.
So there's no pond in there now, are there?
No, there's no pond there now.
So you
And it's
could dig
higher
it
than,
deeper on that end. You could dig it deeper on that end and make that a way, if there's an issue out here with drainage, we could put it into that pond.
you could.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing you can do, because you're gonna be pumping water out of that into the marsh, and then if we've got an issue, we're gonna have to go up through the middle there, in that gray area, into the marsh, to where you said that the pipe was crushed. I mean, the
Yeah.
pipe's crushed, but what was it draining?
So,
Was it draining from the right-hand side back toward 17?
yes, sir, it was, this water is flowing from this side of Limerick Road. It crosses under Limerick Road just beyond Commissioner Maxey's house. And it comes through a small ditch, and it gets into this area right here that's a wetted area. There's like an old dike or something that kind of came across that end. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there was a 36-inch pipe under that old dike, and then it used to discharge into the marsh here. Now, this area is lower than the area of this pond, And when we're finished, the water surface elevation in here is going to be at a point where it's set up to manage and maintain the integrity of this area, and it's going to discharge to the marsh down here, separate from this discharge point here. So, you know, what needs to happen is this needs to get fixed before this is deep enough to take care of any of that water.
So who's gonna fix that in there, the county or the contractor digging out the pond? I mean, if something's
Well-
gonna be fixed by us,
So,
then it's
so
halfway working now, you say, Commissioner Jones?
Not even halfway.
yeah, it's not. So they're two separate issues. So you got the lagoon as an issue and it's going a certain way, and then you got this issue of this drainage that's coming under Limerick Road. So, you know, we're looking at what we need to do to figure out how to fix that drainage.
Trent, you said back over there, coming across the road, what size of pipe is that? One that's
Just
draining?
past Maxie's house?
Yeah, what size of pipe is that?
I think
18?
it's 24 inch, 18 or
24?
24. I think it's 24.
I don't know. Okay.
My photographic memory's failing me. I can see it, but I can't measure it in my mind.
I won't hold you to that.
It's not bigger than 24.
Wasn't that Mr. Haymans that built a lot of that, Max?
He was there originally, one of the original.
I just wonder what a pipe would be doing in there.
I think the agreement the county had with them was to use his easement to, I guess, to allow all of the rainwater and et cetera to, I guess, go across his property back out toward the wetlands. So, this was, what, 25, 30 plus years, I think, that the county may have had the agreement with the original landowners.
I'm told that, I think Ms. Alphine Jackson Brown, I think you missed it when I announced for people to sign up to speak. I think you may have missed that. But your commission tells me you may want to make some comments. Express our concerns. We didn't have anybody else, did we, Mr. Brown? Okay.
I wasn't going to,
Oh, you don't have to. Well, fine, then. I'm not, listen, that's fine. I was just trying to respect your presence, and he told
and
me
the
this
others
was.
were, so I was comfortable
Okay.
not saying anything.
And that's
but
fine, that's
I was
fine.
wondering if, in terms of the runoff, what is running off besides water? Are there any minerals or anything else that we need to know about that's running off in the water that will affect the drainage of the water that will impact people's lives or the environment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, that's an excellent question. So that's one of the reasons we have the sediment basins, and the state requires that you do these sediment basins, so it's not just, hey, Trent's saying do this, and you let that water settle, so that when it does leave, it's leaving in a relatively clean state. Now, as far as if we run across any minerals like heavy metals or anything that's regulated or anything like that, we have to have it, the water has to be sampled 4 times a year, once a quarter. So they sample it, they check for the total suspended solids, and they just kind of look what's in the water to make sure they're not doing any kind of, running across any kind of problems, or, you know, you wouldn't want any uranium or anything like that and have radioactive water going out there. That's not anything around here, but you check that quarterly, and you make the report, and if you do run into something like that, then you do have to stop by state regulations.
So we don't have to worry about titanium oxide and all of that?
No, ma'am. No,
Okay.
ma'am. I'll be very surprised we found that here, but that'd be great. I mean, you know.
Where would I'm curious now, where would a private citizen view those kind of reports? Thank you, Mr.
They get submitted to the state,
Yeah,
and they are published. on the, they'll have an industrial NPDES permit that goes with this. And just like all of our NPDES projects, we have, where our roadways and things like that, there are reports that get posted on that, and so that's where you go get them. I'll be honest with you, it's very convoluted. You have to go get it, and it's hard to find it sometimes,
Yeah.
unless you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, but
Well, they are-
we'll be glad, we usually have copies of them.
But
so.
they are gatekeepers, okay.
They are the gatekeeper.
Okay.
The state is gatekeeper.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Jones.
Yes, I think all the concerns that my residents had been satisfied, and I guess everything that I've was concerned about has been satisfied. Also, I'd like to move forward and make a motion that we grant the conditional use as requested by Mr. Pittman and as recommended by the LCPC, with special conditions that we discussed.
And those were entering only from Highway 17 and with the ability to have easement if necessary to do any follow-up for any drainage issues. That's not pretty words, but that's.
And the construction stop if problems occur during the construction phase until such time as they are solved or
You got it.
proven not to be associated with construction.
Got it.
So there's three, correct? Three separate ones, all right.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, show of hands, please. All right. Third discussion, thank you, sir. All righty. Recreation,
just need
Mr.
to go-
Raymond Groves.
I can read.
Chair,
Move,
motion,
Mr. Chair.
second. Come out of public hearing.
Second, somebody, anybody.
Second, all in favor? All right. Back in regular session.
Good afternoon,
Hello, sir.
Chairman Lovett.
How are you?
Excuse me. I am here to answer any questions that you all may have on the new fee schedule that the Liberty County Recreation Board voted upon and approved unanimously. We have had some changes in those fees. You should have them in front of you. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them for you.
I do. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Groves,
Sir.
how come about these changes?
The
And-
fees,
And what has been done to some of these, all of these parks to preserve some of these fee changes?
we're basically trying to maximize the rental fees for the parks, get them up to current market. As you can see, when you look at the Stafford Park Pavilion, it is an enclosed area that we rent out for $120 a day, a full day. That's 12 hours. We're probably the only place in America that rents a full enclosed air conditioned and heated facility for $120 for a full day. We even charge $50 per hour at the Liberty County Community Complex, which depending on how much you rent it out and how many hours you rent that facility out, you will surpass the amount of money that we are charging at the Stafford Park Pavilion.
So to Stafford Park was $120. The deposit was $120. Now you all are proposing it to take it to $400 plus $200.
The deposit is half of, we made the deposit half of the fee. Now, this is what the rec board had agreed to. It's been approved by them, and then we're asking for your permission to approve the fees. We can adjust them if y'all deem it necessary.
Should this something have been going on along instead of hitting everybody so hard all of a sudden?
Say that again?
Should this fees should have been something that we should have been looking at graduating
Well,
scale instead of now we just slapping everybody with.
Well, the last time that fees were adjusted was 2020. That was before I got here.
Okay.
So
That was the question I was-
we adjusted in 2020, and we came to now with the fees that we're proposing.
And then you wanna go to the outline pavilion from $60 a day to $320.
Yes,
Plus
sir.
$160. So, I mean, my question is, like Homestown Park, Briar Bay Park, Jones Park, Gum Branch. I mean, people are gonna be looking, okay, what have been done to these parks to just improve the price like that, the rental costs?
Those are the current CIPs that I have listed and turned in for renovating those parks and doing more to them, providing wrought iron fencing around them, doing the updates that we need to in order to get that done. These parks are quite often used, so we have to go in and take care of them. Every time they're used, we have to send somebody out to clean them. The public does do a good job of it most of the time, but other times they don't. Then we have the issues of vandalism that occur at these parks, that we have to replace bathrooms. We've had multiple instances of vandalism in several of the parks this year. We've had bathrooms completely destroyed. We've had windows busted out of the pool. We've had all types of things that are going on, so these are the things that we have to deal with as well.
But also within the cleaning of the parks, that should be within your staff, which and they are already on the payroll.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Now, Stafford Park is the main one that we rent out. We've rented that over 200 times this year. We've cleaned the facilities out a minimum of 3 times a week. We have three in our cleaning crew that go out to those parks each day. Well, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And if they have a situation where somebody is renting it on Saturday and it didn't get cleaned by the previous group, then we have to send somebody out there Saturday to clean it.
Mr. Chair, so 2020 was the last time that these prices were adjusted.
Right.
So in 2020, it was, I guess, deemed necessary to push them up to 120.
I think it went from 50 to 60. If you look at the half day
from
cost.
half days?
Yeah, the half
Okay.
days, it went from 50 to 60. Like I said, that was done before I got here. And these were the recommendations that we came up with in the board meeting for the prices of the pavilion rentals and that type of thing.
Okay, and these numbers were brought up from what, competing counties or?
Competing counties, basically market price.
Right.
We're unique. Liberty County is very unique in the number of pavilions that we provide. And most counties don't have the numbers that we do. They don't have the maintenance. They don't have the cleaning. They don't
Right.
have the cost of getting to the parks. They don't have any of that. Most of them don't have as many as we have. Our best is Stafford Park because it is enclosed.
Right.
Like I said, there was 200 rentals last year. We have 59 on the books already for this year.
And that's one of my concerns, you know, trust me, I get it that, you know, we probably do need to look at some type of increase. But I also, I don't want to see a decrease in the amount of our citizens being able to afford to use these facilities. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we are a government entity, and we are here to provide a particular service for our constituents. And, I mean, $400 a day.
12 hours.
Trust me, I get it. I get it. But, you know, my other fellow commissioners probably could afford that, but I don't, you know, I think that's just a little bit kind of steep.
As I stated, these are proposed.
Oh, yeah, right. So I would love our liaison with the RAC to just to kind of analyze these numbers, not just about from the portion of, hey, we do need to increase. Trust me, I get it. Inflationary period, I understand. But, I mean, to throw on from 120 to 400, that's, in my opinion, I think that's a little bit kind of steep. And then, and I get it, even from the gym, for, you know, special events, you're going from $50 an hour to $200 an hour.
That's for the whole gym.
Okay.
That's for the whole entire gym. That's too bad. If we rent out Schumann Center, Recreation Center, that's for both courts, the whole entire gym.
Okay, so, okay, I'm following you. So, half a gym is, so we just talking about, particular about Schumann, correct, right now?
Correct.
All right, so how about if someone just wants to rent out one of the side rooms? Is there a fee for that?
That's multipurpose room, is right there on the top of that.
Okay,
When we usually rent out the multipurpose room, we usually give the first 2 hours away.
okay.
So most people who come in there only take the first 2 hours and they get out.
If they only there for 2 hours, they out. I feel you, man.
So that's why we proposed the flat rate of $25 an hour.
Okay,
If you look at the gymnasium special events, the whole gymnasium was initially $50 an hour. So you could come into the Schumann Center and rent the gym out for $50. The whole gymnasium.
and is that including, because I know we have to have a staff member there as well, correct?
That does not include staffing.
So the $50 that we get pays for the staff, the lights, and
It doesn't pay for the staff, the lights.
I understand.
That's
Right.
why they increase. It doesn't pay for the staff,
Right,
the
right.
lights. Because whenever we have an event, we want somebody from our staff there to supervise the event,
Right.
to make sure nothing goes awry. And then we have to pay the police officers as well. If we're having a major event, we're gonna have to have police officers there. That's $45 an hour. So the $50 that we're charging, the fees that we're charging are not covering our costs at all.
Right, not even close.
Not even
I get it.
Brandon,
Yes, sir.
what's your budget? I know historically, we provided uniforms. You know, you got a shirt and a hat.
Mm-hmm.
If you played baseball or soccer or something like that.
Right now, for the sport of baseball, we charge $30 fee. The baseball, we give them the hat, the jersey, the pants, and socks. And the cost of that for us at a discounted rate through a dealership or a supplier that we have is $29.90.
They get to keep
And-
the pants. The pants belong to them? I mean,
Yes.
They buy in
They
the
buy
whole
it.
uniform?
If they don't have them, they buy the uniform, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, and everything has gone up. I'll give you an example of that and some of the supplies that we have. Based along with outside of sports, chlorine has went from 55-gallon container of chlorine went from $100 to $175. And we use 6 to 8 of those a week. Fertilizer went $10 up from $16 to $26. Roundup weed killer that we use to take care of the facilities and around the facilities went from $49 to $179. So everything that we're buying, everything that we're using is going up significantly. A baseball cap that costs you,
Accept your budget.
a baseball cap that costs you $25 now it's costing you $35.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Connie.
Ms. Gressel, I was just going to ask, do you have very many people that rent it for the full 12 hours?
no, and that's the thing. That's an exceptional thing. Most people do the half day.
I would
Most
think
people do
so.
the half day, and we changed that from one
They would-
being 7 hours to one being 9 hours to both being 8 hours. So the rental times go from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, yeah, I would think most people could get what
Most
they
people
needed
don't.
done,
Yes, yes,
done
ma'am.
within those hours,
Yes,
rather
ma'am.
than go there and stay.
The
that
majority
long
of
period
people who
time.
rent the pavilions rent it for half-day situations. Usually they're organizations that will,
Right.
big organizations that have a budget for it, that rent it full-time,
Okay.
the
And
full 12 hours.
The other question, and then I'm still on the first page here, was
Mm-hmm.
the pavilions, like Stafford, do you have like a limit as to how many people could attend a function?
It depends. Usually, I think in Stafford, it's anywhere from 50 to 100, 150
have
in
that.
Stafford, possibly.
one
I'd have to
function.
check and get the.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, I
market will
kind of
have
did the
something
math
to
here,
say
that's
on
like
that, wouldn't it?
$50 an hour. If you got 100 people in there, they're getting by real cheap.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want all those at my house, I want.
Absolutely.
So I would, but anyway, that's kind of what I was getting at, and the fact that you don't have to
Well,
rent it out for the 12 hours.
where the price point differentiates tremendously is in the full 12-hour cycle. If you look at the half-day at Stafford, it's a plus 140. It went from $60 a day for a half-day
Yeah, I do.
to $200 a day, a
Okay.
half-day.
Okay, okay.
What about the
And,
Riceboro Gym?
yeah, I was gonna ask
The
about,
Riceboro Gymnasium?
Yeah.
What was the question?
I mean, the same thing applies for the gym at Riceboro?
We were gonna propose that those happen. It's not, we don't charge anything right now at the Riceboro Gym.
I mean, what I'm getting at, you got.
We don't
young
have the
people
youth
around there
side.
that goes down there and play basketball.
Right.
So are they gonna be charged just to go in there and?
No,
Shoot
no,
basketball?
no.
It's for organized.
No, these are non-affiliated, private entities for the most part. People use our facility. We have open court every day at Schumann Center, or every so often at Schumann Center when on nights that we don't have events going on. We have open gym. On Thursday nights, outside of volleyball season, we have open volleyball on certain nights. We're not charging people that are affiliated with the recreation department that are doing those type things. These are private. The pavilions are usually private entities or families that come and rent the gymnasium or the pavilions for that.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll go back to my question here now. The facilities that you're renting here.
Which page? Third page, batting cages and that type of thing?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
back there now. So is this more for maybe, I know we got a lot of traveling teams
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
county. So are they paying anything right now to use those?
Absolutely nothing.
So those
Now, some of those
organizations are
those
not paying, but so you have like a timing issue. Well, you may not have an issue, but you've got to schedule kind of your scheduling of the recreation department children. And then you've got these private or organizations or traveling teams that want to come in and schedule them in. And so right now, they're not paying anything.
Right now, they're not paying anything.
And
What we're-
are those profit? Are those for profit?
They do
I
not.
don't know. I don't have no
Most
children
most
right
travel. I'll give you an example. We have an individual group that was charging their participants $1,100 per kid.
What's that?
$1,100 per kid and $40 a month to participate on the travel ball team. It is not run through the Liberty County Recreation Department, but they use our facilities and want to monopolize our facilities all the time.
Okay.
So we sat down with them and we told them you can practice and use the facilities twice a week. We agreed to that. They came in, they said they would agree to it. They left, walked out the door. One of them came back in and said, well, he's gonna rent it on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'm gonna rent it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's the same organization. So they try to find ways around it to monopolize the actual facilities. Now, if we allow the travel ball teams to come in and be in there all the time,
That's right.
then the normal public, the regular public, don't have time to get in to the batting cages. Now, this is one of the biggest problems that recreation departments are having across the country right now.
Oh, yeah, travel.
I would think
Some recreation departments charge up to $60 an hour for a batting cage. We're not charging that much. Some don't even allow it. We have some, matter of fact, Pooler, Pooler shuts their fields down on Wednesday nights, and they can't even use the field, soccer or anybody else. Wayne, soccer season is over.
We have another $50,000. Is that added to the recreation budget?
Well, it's added to the, a couple years ago, we brought them under the general fund. They had their own separate fund. We brought them under the general fund.
Okay.
So now the general fund reflects the total expenses paid out. And it also reflects again, so the fees don't, has to be given general fund to fund. Last year, $1 million. So I don't think that different. Stephen, public office is our team rating. One thing to do is that some cases, those are not Liberty County folks that are on those teams.
And I guess the private, the ones that's not affiliated with the recreation department, the teams that the recreation department put together, they have first priority on the facilities.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And we set these fees for the outside, the private. And if all our teams were using it, then there's really no room for the private. I mean, because I know that the private team, he wants to go down there on Wednesdays from 6 to 8. But if Raymond has scheduled the Giants to use the batting cage from 6 to 8, then that private team, he just can't use it.
He can't use, I think it's a three-way balance. It's the private team, it's the rec teams, and it is exactly what Commissioner Steve, guys, just want to use it. First $2 accommodate.
I'm not saying that we, but that much, and taking a deeper would probably need to do, and the proposal we need to, it's something that we there. Then we for agree to this. Vacancy over there, Eddie? You want your job back?
No, I don't care nothing about it.
As the rec liaison.
The truth, shame the devil, baby.
Let's get the youngest one here. He got, Justin, he'll
Yeah,
be
Justin will make a good person.
familiar with, he's a big Celtics fan.
All right, they're gonna bring it back to us after some studies
We'll have
done.
you something to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
In this session.
You're right.
Thank you,
I
Raymond.
just wanna know what a barber, haircut cost in the 20s versus today.
It's
That's
a,
all I got to measure.
and listen, it's a difference in the cost of a haircut from 2022 to 2023.
Let's get back on.
Absolutely.
Chief Hagan, where is he? He's in the corner over there, I didn't see you.
Money man.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Chief.
You've been,
I'm being called to the carpet.
y'all have been in discussion with the Liberty County Board of Education for?
Okay, that's why we're here. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't in trouble. I did, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope all is well. I'm in a learning process, and I tell people, Mr. Brown and I had a conversation in the last couple of days, which reassured me I'm in a learning position. But the MOU that I brought, that of the agreement between the sheriff's office and the school board, and then I brought it to Chairman Lovett. I was operating under the understanding that the current MOU was just an upgrade. So MOU, which states that they will fund it and the sheriff department will manage and monitor it. At this point, we have promoted a lieutenant and a sergeant to manage it. But the first phase of this goes from now until June of this year, and then, which is the end of the school year. And what will happen, we will have an officer in each high school and one in each middle school, and also Midway Elementary. And is that Liberty Elementary?
Liberty Elementary.
Yeah, Midway Middle and Liberty Elementary. So we will keep officers there at this time. But after the new year, we will resubmit the newest budget where we will bring it up, where we have 2 officers in each high school and 1 in each middle and 1 in each elementary school. And again, that will be supervised by the sheriff department. We are to make sure that those officers are trained specifically, and we will make sure we pick the right people to put in our school system, because that's our biggest and best commodity in this county is our kids. And so we don't want to just stick anyone in there just because they wear a badge and gun. We want to vet and put the right people in the school system. And Dr. Perry and his staff and I have been working closely together to make sure we put this together so it'll be a model program and something that Liberty County will be proud of. And I respectfully ask our commissioners that you all, approve the MOU and allow it to go forward so we can really begin to protect our kids. Each officer will be trained through the CHAMPS program. We're going to make sure our officers not just there walking around all day looking. The whole purpose of the officer in the school is to build relationships with these kids, because a lot of times we can find out if they're being abused at home, if they're so many things that go on that they just need someone to talk to. And so, but we're there to make sure they're safe and that someone that they can always go to. But a lot of times it will help alleviate other problems within the school just because they trust that officer that's there.
we won't send that officer that we consider quote-unquote lazy. We'll punish him by sending him to the school. That's the wrong thing to do. Over my years, I've seen that, and that's not the thing to do. You want your best officers in those schools because that's our kids that we're talking about. I would gladly answer any questions from there.
Mr. Chair.
Right. Okay. And the midway, what we've agreed up until June is continue to fund the Liberty Elementary position that we currently, through our budget, the Sheriff's Department budget. And that will continue up until the new contract. Then we plan to bring them all under the school board budget. So
What will be the total amount of SROs beginning July?
we're looking at 2 supervisors and then 15, a total of 17 personnel for that operation.
And all of this will be funded by the BOE?
The Board of Education, yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chair.
What we would do is, and this is what I understood happened in the past, say if we make a purchase like uniforms, whatever, we will pay it, then immediately send them the bill and they will refund the county and that. And I've spoken with Mr. Mosley and different ones on how the proper process. As I say, as I learn, I'm learning that.
You got several.
Hey, I'll stay on the phone with these guys and I'll be doing pretty good, so.
Chairman,
I think.
Right, just real quick. So, Chief, just a quick question. So you said a total of 17 personnel?
Yes, sir.
So is that expansion? So are we just looking at the particular schools that's in the county, or we're talking about across
All
the board?
schools, all schools in Liberty County will have an officer under this program.
So HPD won't be over?
No, sir, and that's something we're discussing with the chief now, if they're gonna leave their guy within this system or if they're gonna bring him back. But we feel it works better when everybody's under one umbrella, because he would only be, what I say, have the authority just for that one school, where the county officers can move about, they can work part-time, say like when the bus, like if a team travel, our officers can travel with them. Makes it a little harder for
Right.
the other officers.
Dealing with, yeah,
So,
I just know.
but it works,
was some good.
the continuity of being under one umbrella tend to work. But we're working with Chief Slater over there to make sure that we gel this thing and.
Transition.
Right.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Brown, I guess a quick question. So is there any difference in the verbiage on this particular MOU compared to previous ones?
So Mr. Davis is reviewing that MOU now. It's not one that he drafted, so I sent it over to him, and he's doing the final review on it.
Okay.
So the school board drafted this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chief, or Joey, this agreement is already in place since the 17th of January?
Well, it wouldn't be in place until, under law, you guys have to actually, and ladies, have to approve a contract with the Board of Education for any service. Sheriffs of counties aren't able to really do a legal binding contract, so that's why it's here.
Okay. And Chief Hagan, you said all schools, does that include the pre-K center?
Talking about in.
The one right over?
In Midway,
where?
I'm in Riceboro.
The one right there.
School board office.
The one right there by the board office.
Next to the school board office.
That's the pre-K center, right? And what about the?
I'm not familiar
Sure.
with those because like in Riceboro, those are federally funded. So.
Yeah, what Riceboro Head Start, that's not.
That's the one I was thinking about, yes.
Oh, no, the one
But
by
I'm,
by
the
the
one
Board
you're
of
talking about
Education.
now, I'm
off of
not
Broward.
sure of that, and that's one I will talk to Dr. Perry to make sure of, but it's not, haven't been mentioned up to
But
this point. of
That
having
is
one.
affiliated, Mr. Chairman, through the school board,
It is,
right?
yeah.
It is school board.
Okay,
Okay.
well,
Any alternative? Matter of fact, is there still an alternative?
Yeah, right, the old Bacon Primary, Horizons, that's.
Right.
That's
now
the school
Horizon
system.
will be,
Horizons is
right,
different.
that's privately contracted.
Okay.
And I think it will be brought under this contract as well. We talked about that.
What's privately contracted? Horizons, the school, they're not school?
The officer,
The
I
officer,
think, the
okay.
security of it.
Okay. Now, these 17 officers, and looks like that we just, or somebody just hired some more if they're gonna take over the pre-K center, you know. But are they gonna be school board employees or Liberty County Sheriff Department employees?
They'll be Liberty County Sheriff Department employees.
That's paid for by the
School
Liberty
board.
County Board of Education.
That's correct.
And the benefits, the retirement and everything would be part of that fee from the school board. That person would be, whatever the retirement is, the benefits, the health insurance, the vacation, everything would be
Correct.
paid for by the school board.
It's calculated in their salary and everything through the school board's budget.
Okay.
How do you measure that, Chief?
Sir?
How do you measure what a county employee deputy in the school board, what if their school board says, well, we're gonna pay them $2.50 more an hour, let's just say. I mean, you'll have to select those deputies or on a merit situation, or they'll be tested, or how'll that happen?
They're under the Sheriff Department pay scale and guidelines, and that's what we submitted to them in the budget. Like a starting officer is like 21, I forget the exact penny, but that's what they will start at, and that's what we turned into them budget-wise. Their Social Security and the benefits package is all in that, and it's standard to what the Sheriff's Department currently.
But the deputies, when they work there, are they 16 or 12-hour days?
They're 12.
So when this SRO officer and his partner at Liberty, they say, okay, we gotta load up, we gotta go to Savannah for a ball game. He'll be at time and a half?
No, that will be up to the supervisor to manage those hours, their time. They may come in later because they're going out of town, but if they do, they will work at the standard overtime rate. But that's what those supervisors for, to manage that. When they know a game is coming up, they'll take maybe have an officer off for a day, and what we have to do a lot of times, we'll end up having to fill in some slots with current deputies while, say, if someone gets sick, until we can get to the point of maybe having a floater, and that's what a supervisor would do, is float and fill in. If someone calls in and say, I'm sick, no problem, but we will always keep an officer at that school, at every school.
And that supervisor would be funded by the school board as well?
Everybody's under the school board. It's pretty much what they did is, it's almost like starting a separate police department.
Right, yeah, that's what
Just
it sounds
manage
like.
it. Everything is operated from their budget. As far as their new vehicles will come, new equipment, everything will come from that budget provided by Dr. Perry and the school
Vehicles,
board.
everything?
Yes, sir.
And what about that 6 weeks? It used to be 3 months when I was in school, but 6 weeks when school is out during the summer?
That's when we would do most of our training.
So they'll still
They'll
still work during the summer.
Right.
But they won't be
going home,
providing
taking it
security
easy.
for the students, but they'll still be employed by the school board doing
Yes,
some
sir.
other stuff, school board related, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
There's still plenty of stuff during this, mainly to keep from taking officers out of the school. That's when we'll go to, like, the firing range, the mandatory governor initiative training, and those are type things we'll do during the summer. So we keep them in the school during the school year.
Can you even let them cut some grass if during the summer?
I can't have the folks doing that one now. But we'll make sure that they're serving, because there's still a lot of events that go on with the school system during the summer as well.
So now, and you said something about traveling with the ball teams.
Yes, sir.
That security force, those deputies that's affiliated, being paid by the school board, they will be the ones that's traveling out of town with the teams?
Yes,
Some
sir.
of them?
Because they'll be sworn deputies.
And what about the crossing guards? Like right now, I think the school board pays for the crossing guards after the ball games. All of that would
Right, all that, anything relating to security of the school will come under that budget, and we're looking at moving the school crossing guard into that unit as well.
But let's say, a game, a football game tonight, Bradwater and Liberty down at Wood Stadium, and you have officers there providing security. That's paid
Yes,
for by the
school
school
board.
board as
They
well.
do.
Yes.
But that wouldn't be necessarily the school board
SRO.
staff. That wouldn't be them. That would be the regular deputies that would be there supplementing the security of a game, or it would be the same officers that work for the school.
Oh,
If you work
SRO.
for the school, it'll be the whole hog. You do the games, the crossing guard,
Right.
and the security of the school if you're on that, if you're being funded by the school board.
That's
It
correct.
wouldn't be Corporal Johnson, who's a patrolman by day, going over there at night for a game.
Even if we use an officer from patrol, they're still paid by the school board for when they work those games.
Oh, okay.
That's off-duty employment for them.
There.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
When will this come up, Joey?
It actually, it comes back, it only runs through June of '23, so you'll come back and renew, be looking at another agreement before then.
I'm talking about Kelly, when's he gonna get through?
Oh, I would think sometime this coming week. This coming week.
So we don't have to meet again, or you gonna have a call meeting? You do.
I mean, my recommendation is, Kelly talked to me before this, it wouldn't be substantially different than any language here. If you could just approve it tonight, subject to those changes of the county attorney review, that'd be great.
Chair, entertain a motion.
Make that motion that we approve it based on the changes proposed.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please.
I am so glad to see this
Yes.
come to fruition.
Well, you've been
DOE
tutored
is gonna
well.
take the lead on the school system.
You've been tutored well.
Well, well, I appreciate you guys, and thank.
Chief, if you
Yes,
would,
sir.
if you're checking to see what they're gonna do at the pre-K center, because, you know, people think about high school, violence at high schools, but I
It's not
think
listed
about
Anywhere.
the young boy who can't get in to see his child because of some drama he may
Domestic
be having
issue,
with,
yes.
And then, so he gonna go to the school and he
Take
gonna
it.
force his way in. I mean, so that's violence, not by little Johnny and Jimmy, who's in there coloring. The grown-ups that go there to create havoc. I mean, so you need just as much security over there for that kind of stuff
Absolutely.
than you do at a
And,
high
and that's a
school.
great point, and what is, I'm learning where all these, like with the Career Academy out there, I knew about it because of Walthamville, and we talked about security out there, but it was something that, of the alternative school that I learned later that exists, so as I'm learning, but that's a good question. I'll be on that first thing in the morning, I
Okay.
promise you.
Okay.
Your comment there you made about the school there in Commissioner Stevens' district, that's a federal, but, I mean, there's probably citizens from Liberty County there, right?
That's correct.
All of them, pretty well most of them.
That's the furthest school from any place.
Very
I
aware.
mean, there's nobody out there.
Well,
There's
they,
not even a police department.
we visited that school, and they have a very secure locking system and an emergency, they have a great emergency plan, for one. And of course, when our deputies are out that way, they're told to make sure they check in. But that's one of those situations that we can't just walk in because it's federally funded. It separates it from our school system, but we're always thinking about them, and I want to thank Chairman Stevens for really getting us out there and really understanding how that place operates, and that was one of my first questions, went to seeing how the doors are locked and how they go about if an incident occur, and our response, you look at response times and those type things, so.
I was about to say, you could put a badge on him, but he'd be leaning like this all the time.
He keep us going, but
Thank you, Chief.
thank you. We really appreciate you, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Coastal Pines.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No,
We're gonna,
yeah, we did,
We did.
We did, yeah, we did.
we did.
That conversation, yeah.
I'm here to present and seek approval for an MOA between Coastal Pines Technical College and the Liberty County Board of Commissioners. This is similar to what we did a few months ago with our agreement with Savannah Tech. This would allow EMTs and paramedic students that are enrolled in this program, it would allow them to come to our service, Liberty County EMS, to act as a preceptor clinical site for them to obtain their clinical hours. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We need them.
We need them, and to add, I would also like to add that we currently have one full-time employee and one part-time employee currently enrolled in the Coastal Pines paramedic program. They started in January, and they're expected to graduate and complete at the end of the year. And we've been successful with the Savannah Tech as well, as we have employees going to obtain their higher level as well through Savannah Tech.
When you serve as a training agency, you get to see firsthand the creme de la creme. You know, so you get sometimes you get to hire those people, so it's a good opportunity.
Yes.
So Coastal Pines, is that the one in Brunswick?
It's in
And I
Jessup,
believe
too.
they have a site in Jessup, Brunswick, and Waycross, I believe.
They're that way. So they all kind of place students wherever they can get a.
Right.
So we give them that opportunity to come to us, and we can precept them there, and sometimes we can recruit while they're doing their clinical rides.
Coastal Pines at the old Bacon Primary?
Everything can be at Bacon Primary.
No,
We don't have one in
No.
Liberty County.
no, it wouldn't be here in Liberty.
We don't have a site in Liberty County for
What
Coastal
is
Pines.
that Bacon Primary?
Horizons, I think.
Right,
There's something on the other side, on the south main side.
I'm not sure what that is.
I know, I thought my
tech
son,
school.
he teaches out there, and I thought he said it's Coastal Pines.
Yeah, I don't think it's Coastal Pines.
At Bacon
This is
Primary?
Savannah Tech's territory,
This is Savannah Tech
Yeah.
in Liberty County.
as far as having a site. And our students are able to go all over.
It's so funny.
What we doing?
Y'all
Mr.
call it
Chairman?
Bacon
Yeah.
Primary, and I call it
Jordy
Jordy
Bacon.
Bacon
Well,
Elementary.
you know why.
Yeah.
All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. All right. Thank you,
All right,
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you. Compensation, classification and compensation plan.
Yes, sir, this is going to be a virtual for you, so
Oh, those folk have been on hold.
Yes, sir.
you want to introduce?
They are. Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners, we have before us Dr. Steve Condry and Associates, Dr. Greg Grease, and Ms. Jen Hanford. They are the consultants that have worked diligently with staff to do the updates to the Liberty County Pay and Compensation Plan. And so tonight I'd like to introduce Dr. Condry. He's the lead researcher, and he will introduce Dr. Reese and Ms. Hanford.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. It's been a real pleasure to work with you and Laura and Joey and all the employees of the county, coming up with an updated classification and pay system. I have Jan Hansford, my business partner. Jan, do you want to say a word or two?
Sure. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with your department heads and elected officials and talking with them about their departments and the employees' jobs in each department. You have a very professional management team there.
Absolutely. And Brad, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Jan said and say it's a pleasure to work with you folks. We're glad to be here with you this evening.
Does everyone have a copy of the report info? Everyone on the commission?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
Okay, great. And so we have a PowerPoint that we're going to go through, take about 10 minutes. But you can also follow along for some parts of it with the report. So Greg, would you start the PowerPoint?
I believe I'm sharing my screen. If somebody will just confirm for me that everybody can see it.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So I'll just begin by reminding everybody of the objectives for the study. These were the things we were asked to do and wanted to accomplish. We were to review and upgrade your current classification system and pay plan for all county employees. And we were asked to collect salary survey data so that we could produce a recommended pay plan based on analysis of the jobs, evaluation of the jobs, and the wage survey data that we collected. Study steps involving distributing your current job descriptions for review so that Any updates to the jobs could be passed along to us. We then follow that up by interviewing department heads and elected officials, talking to them about all of the jobs that they oversee. And then we conducted that external salary survey to help us get a picture of the current salary marketplace. And the participants in the survey included Bullock County, Camden County, Chatham County, Effingham County, and Glenn County, as well as the city of Douglas, Hinesville, Cooler, Richmond Hill, Savannah, and Statesboro. So we felt like we collected a lot of good information for you.
Okay, so after we have done the internal analysis and collected the information, we came up with a salary scale that's right at the mean of the market. We call it 100% of the market. So if you had 20 organizations out there you were comparing yourself to, 10 would pay more and 10 would pay less. Since we collected this information in the fall and we're going to implement July 1, 2023, we then took that data and that scale and we increased it by 5%. And that is table 2B in your report on page 7. Is everybody following me there? And so this is what we predict will be 100% of the market come July 1. Now let's look at a salary for a deputy sheriff. That's grade 17. What's the entry level rate on that, Jan?
$48,483.24.
And so if I had a deputy that was making $46,000, they would move up to that minimum salary. If I had one that was making $49,000, where would they land, Jan?
At 17 step B, which is $49,452.91.
So this is a methodology that we use for all employees. If they're below the minimum, we move them up to the minimum. And if they're between the step, we move them to the next highest step. Now, if you look at table 2A, which is on page 6, this is a scale that's 3% higher, or 103% of the market, as of July 2023. And that same deputy sheriff at a grade 17, what's the entry level right now, Jan?
$49,895.38.
And so again, that person that was making 46 would move up to 49,000. If someone were making 50,000, they would move to step B. So the cumulative effect of that is noted in table 3, and that's in page 9 of your report. And Jan, would you go down the cost for Plan A and B? That's the extreme left side, the cost to implement the classification changes.
Plan A is $859,981, which is 4.19% of your current payroll. And Plan B is $556,704, which is 2.71% of payroll.
Now, I understand in March you're going to implement your merit increases. So these numbers are going to come down. We will recalculate this for you come March or early April. So you'll have some numbers and it will not be as expensive as this, but a little bit less. Now, when we implemented those classification changes, we grouped the salaries closer together. Pay compression, I know you as a commission is familiar with this. So we want to come up with some recommendations for you to ease this compression. And so the full equity adjustment would move employee who had 1 to 3 years of service as of June 30th, 2023, would move them 1 step. With 4 to 6 years of service, they would move 2 steps. And with 7 or more years of service, they would move 3 steps. And then we also showed you a modified version of this, it's a little bit less. 1 to 3 years of service, the employee would move out 1 additional step, and 4 or more years of service, they would move out 2 steps. And Jan, you want to go down the right-hand column, the middle column, and talk about the cost of this?
Sure. Plan A, with the eligibility to move 3 steps is $804,221, which is 3.76% of payroll. Plan B is $793,646, which is 3.76% of payroll. The modified plan with the eligibility to move 2 steps is Plan A modified $630,134, or 2.94% of payroll. Plan B modified $620,958, which is 2.94% of payroll.
Okay, Joseph, would you like to say anything, or Joey or Laura?
I would just like to say it's been a good working relationship, and you guys have been very professional. I worked with Dr. Condrey when I was in Statesboro, so I'm very familiar with him. If he gave you some numbers, you can pretty much bank on them. They're going to be pretty good, solid numbers.
Thank you, Joseph. And let's just open it up to the county commission. I will let you know that your cost is not that expensive. We work all over the country, and we've seen some, double-digit increases for some jurisdictions. So you have done a good job, with your administration and the commission, with trying to keep your salaries current and very
That's good to hear.
Good to hear.
That's good to hear.
You're doing good. I've actually worked with Liberty County for over 25 years, and it's amazing how the county's grown and professionalized. And good, stable leadership helps you do that.
So I want to hear from staff.
So I think just importantly, and I do, thanks, Steve, to you and your team, because you were also a pleasure to work with, and I echo what Joseph said with the reliability of the information. I feel like we've done good in the past. You guys have taken it to another level with what you've looked at there, and we feel very good with that. So I think, the key takeaway is this, is we want to give you a shot. He mentioned that the merit increases that have already been approved by the board in the budget will take effect in March. After we do that, obviously there will be an effect on this chart, on this, implementation chart. And so that is the one that will come back after those are gone out in March. We'll disseminate that data for him. He'll do a reset, and then you'll have a chance to look at that as you're doing your budget for the next fiscal year. And depending on what you decide to do, and it's probably something we could even talk, we may even have the opportunity to talk about it at the planning session, which would be great. And then you could implement whichever you want in your budget, and whatever changes you choose to do would be effective July 1st to the salary scale itself.
So, Joe, they won't be, correct me, they won't be, the merit, and this could go together, or would it be only one?
No, sir, you do the merits separate. The merit's based on the scale you're in right now, because it was covered last calendar year, so to speak, and you've already budgeted for that. We'll do that to answer your question. No, sir, the merit will go out first. Those costs will be captured as an update, which it should, to the comparison of at either 100% or 103% of the mean, and then you'll decide what you want to take it to on the next level as we try to retain employees.
So that means they could go up to a 3.0 or 3.5 if you total up all of the increases?
Well, what'll happen, if you remember on your merit, so what you authorize this year is a max of 4%. Okay. So you're either going to get a 2% or a 4% based on your scoring, and nothing in between. And so the max they could possibly get is 4%. So if you make an assumption, which it won't happen, but if you make an assumption that everybody gets the most they can get at 4%, your salary levels would come 4% closer then to what you see here. Which would be good,
And
which would be real good.
Excuse me, Mr. Brown, that will take place in March.
Yes, ma'am. Those have already been calculated. In fact, they're preparing. Actually, I think the payroll probably will run in February, late February.
Okay, and then once the commissioners approve one of these classifications, then that would take effect
Propose to take effect when your new budget
in that
takes
budget
effect.
of the following year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And help me understand, I guess, would we be approving the modified?
Well, that's something you'll have to
That's
decide.
what, we
Yes,
will
ma'am.
discuss, but that's what we'll be moving from Plan A to Plan A modified, is that
Well,
correct?
well,
Or-
no, ma'am. So what you see there, if you notice in the classification changes between Plan A and the Plan A modified, is there really are no changes. Where the modified really comes in, and the decision you have to make is this, which really, you've already said what you want to do, and it's the right thing, is that you got competitive salary ranges, which is really Plan A or Plan B. The modified comes in and trying to go ahead and adjust those internal compression and equities that we talked about adjusting that partially were already brought on when we moved everybody to the living minimum wage. Remember, we bumped those up, and then we caused a encroachment in that zone, so to speak. So you'll choose to be at 100% of market rate or over market rate, and then you'll choose how much to adjust equity, whether you want to go 3 steps or 2 steps on your equity adjustment.
Okay, and when was the last time we had one of these done? It's been a while.
2019.
19 that we had, and then, okay.
That
all
you
right.
had to
So we
pull
get
up.
back to the market rate as of 2023, 24.
Yes,
Pretty
ma'am.
much, once we plug those other numbers,
And-
that merit.
Yes, ma'am, and that's right. And I think a good point with Dr. Condrey and team here, you have made some adjustments along the way. Remember, whatever adjustments you make here will be to the salary scale. So if there's somebody in the position on the scale, of course, they'll feel it. Those times that you've adjusted for COLAs, which you've done, have made an adjustment at that scale also. So as you've moved that scale out in those years, that's how you've been able to not be as far off as you described some others are, yeah.
Right.
Because the whole scale moved when you did that. And this is, the whole scale will move here based on whatever you choose.
Joey, what,
Would you be able to get your, of course, the department heads will look at their employees in a period of time and determine whatever their development plan is they're meeting the expectations or there needs to be improvement. That gives you enough time to put all this together. I mean, what are you looking at? I mean, it's gotta be important that all of that's done so we'll know how to do the budget. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, a good point. The development plan is sitting down and doing the evaluations, and those evaluations occurred during the month of January. So they were just complete. They'll have that evaluation with goals that will be accomplished through 2023. And so this really doesn't affect any of those plans because that is what merit is geared around, totally separate. And I know y'all know that. So, which is the other good thing you've done, is to be able to get merit back active again so that you do have those goals and you do have those incentives provided for those employees that excel. You're doing great.
that's all. I wanna
Yes, sir.
I know it,
Yeah.
time limit there you need to work with.
Right.
Yes, sir, it's fitting perfect. It's really,
These are our greatest asset, we
fitting
need to keep it.
Joey,
Mr. Gillett?
what, I know it goes all the way to, if the scale runs out on someone, what do we do? What do you do and as,
it's a very good question.
The scale
In
runs
fact-
out.
In fact, Jan Hansford's smiling on the screen because she got a call about that today, because Laura and I talked about that. So we have really countywide, you've got now 4 employees that are what we call topped out, right? So they're the final step. And what we had heard and what we confirmed today, and they may want to comment on this, but what we confirmed today is most systems, what you do then is you take the amount that the employee would have been rewarded in an annual salary or in a total increase, and you pay it actually as a bonus. So, because there is no other step for them to go to, right? So you can't really give them merit and increase it. So what'll happen in those cases is when their ratings come in for the merit, the dollar amount that it would be equivalent to as an annual increase would be given as a one-time bonus to them and would not affect the bottom salary.
so that would not also affect their retirement?
That will affect their retirement, yes, sir. That's correct. Now, what'll happen, obviously, when you take a look at this, if they were obviously one of those that were affected, again, as those scales move out, you know, they may get some adjustment from that too, if they're in one of those positions that gets adjusted, so.
All right,
But that's how that works, yes, sir.
I understand it a little bit more.
Joe, I'm looking at on page 6, this says proposed salary scale Liberty County personnel project. Is this, on page 6, is that grade 7A? Is that's current, that's not?
None of these would be current. These are the proposed new scales.
Yeah.
The new scale?
Right.
Which,
Now-
I mean, but that one is less than $15 an hour. I thought we had that 30,449.70.
Jan, what is the lowest graded position, grade 9?
It's a grade, well, the convenience center custodian is a grade 7.
7A?
That's the only position.
So there really wouldn't be anybody that would be brought in below that minimum living wage.
And that,
Yeah, what 7A, if you do that time 2080 or divided by 2080 is 1463.64. That's you see what I'm talking about?
Mhm,
That
I
first
see,
one.
now I do see exactly
Yeah,
what you're
that's
talking about.
and I thought we had
You have, for
we were gonna.
full-time employees.
Oh, that's just for
Yeah,
full-time?
I think they're
These are gonna apply
part-time.
to, yeah, these are gonna apply to full-time employees. You didn't adjust living wage for part-time employees, correct?
That position is part-time.
Yes.
So a part-time person would come in less than,
Less than that $15, that's correct.
I thought 15 was the new baseline.
Well, I know you didn't even have us on there, on the scale, we didn't even hit the scale. We're so far above it.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, sir. Thank you.
So we're going to look at this, Mr. Chairman, at
At the
commission?
workshop?
I mean, planning
We can look for them in the
workshop.
workshop,
When
and
we
by
get
that time, we will have the recalculation. Should be able to have the recalculation, based on when you set your workshop thing in a minute, but we should have time to be able to do that, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, are we gonna have time to, like, discuss all these things at the workshop fluently?
So far, we've got
In
two.
one sitting? I guess we could talk about that later.
We'll give it our level best.
So,
Steve, thank you and the team. It's a good team you assembled there. Steve, what he didn't tell you is when he first worked for us, he was at the University of Georgia. You're right, Carl Vinson. And so as he left there, he just decided who he wanted to go with him. And he's assembled a good team. So thank you so much. They've done a lot of city and county work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.
The same.
Thank you.
all right.
Georgia
Carl Vinson.
Regional Radio Network.
Handle that. This is what we know as a SEGARRN network, which basically is the radio network, digital network that extends from Chatham to Effingham to Bullock, to Bryan to Glenn.
Emmanuel
And Emmanuel now.
in Emmanuel
that's right.
County. I've been the representative on the board since Mr. Wall died several years ago. We've had some issues come up where we're asking all the members of the board to be reappointed, and that requires a letter signed by the commission chairman to reappoint me back to the board. So I'm asking for the board to approve that reappointment, and so the chairman can sign the letter for me.
We'll go back.
Someone's got to do it. You want to do it?
Motion's in order.
So move.
All in favor, show your hands.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me, left side. Excuse me, left side. I think that was supposed to be us. Hey, that was gonna be the easiest one that we had all year too.
Get it in now. Huh?
Right.
Late now, man.
Announcements?
The only other thing, Mr. Chairman, is I did print off some calendars, and if you could check so we can try to nail down how many different days y'all want to try to do this. So in comparison, at least with Commissioner Jones' schedules, I know we got others, his first availability after that 10th that we were looking at, really staying away from what we talked about last time, Commissioner Frazier, would be the 31st. I know we normally do it on a Friday. So I wanted to check and see if y'all want to try to do that.
March 31st?
March 31st?
31st.
Yeah.
Let me,
Here or at the airport? Where?
We'll do it out there.
yeah, they're bringing that big jet that day.
Kirby coming.
Coming back. But I have it down.
The other 2 days that I see after that would be on a like Wednesday, Thursday, unless you go all the way to the 14th. So if we wanted to do a firm day like the 31st and then do a backup day, just in case, we'd go ahead and hold it on that day also.
What were those dates, sir?
So you're looking at the 31st and
Got it.
the 5th and the 6th of April.
I'm not available on those 2 days.
You're not?
I'm not.
Okay. And then the next opportunity would be the 14th, it looks like.
14th of April?
Yes, sir.
14th or the 31st is good for me.
What's the 14th on, Joey?
It's on a Friday also.
Friday?
Can we discuss everything in one day?
Well, I don't know. That's the reason, maybe what you want to do is lock in on the 31st and let us also hold the 14th. That's far enough apart that I could make all the arrangements if you decide you need to go another day.
When is the retreat? What date is it?
It's not October.
Oh, October, so okay, so we got time. Okay.
And I think if you get any, 31st is optimum. If we get any later than the 14th, if we have to do a second one, I think we'll prioritize some stuff for you. I think like salary classification stuff, anything that could impact the budget that you'll be in the middle of working on, we need to try to get early in the planning session and hammer out if we can, and then if it affects the budget, go ahead and get it sent over to the budget worksheets.
But Joey, I mean, I keep hearing, discuss all this stuff. Is there already an agenda? Is already a
Yes,
list
sir,
of things?
yes, sir, I think.
Did
well,
you
no,
send
sir.
it?
No, sir, there's not an agenda yet. I think it's probably been maybe a couple of meetings ago. We discussed it. Anything y'all had, please send it over.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing, I'm just compiling a list.
Okay.
Right now. And once we lock in on a date, I'm gonna go ahead and line those out, send those to you, and then you can still send me stuff.
Okay.
I'll get it ahead of time enough you can do
I'll
that.
send you, you know, what we had talked about, the contract stuff. Okay.
That'd be good. So we wanna go with the 31st? Yeah. And then the 14th as a backup for a second one, is that okay?
We did it in April.
April 27th through
Some ACCG?
the 30th.
Yeah. Told you. All right.
Okay. Other thing, I'll let Mr. Mosley give you an update on is that we followed up on the summer food. And so there's good news is we're under the wire there. So I'll let him, I think he gave you a copy of the proposed schedule.
Joe and I met with David on last week, and we sat down and he shared with us some things that we need to do. He would attend training for the meeting. I think it's bright for the start in March. Y'all would authorize whether or not y'all wanted to move forward with the program in March, and then we would send our RFPs to solicit contractors for food prep in April and May. We would kind of do these simultaneously, 4 and 5, advertise and hire employees, but as well as identify, designate, secure food service sites. And then the program would start in early June with a concluding date of late July.
That's good.
Hope you're gonna be able,
I sent you a text too.
hope you're gonna be able to find employees. It's just
Well, that's,
so
I mean,
hard to-
that is a little bit of a concern, but we'll work through all that. I do think that what we're going to have to do the very first year, remember, we only get reimbursed for meals actually served. So if we over-anticipate usage of a site and it doesn't happen, I mean, number one, the program's not 100% reimbursement, but we get back a portion of money out of those meal costs from the federal government to help offset indirect costs for us. But so we need to really focus, as we did when we wound it up last time, on high-volume sites.
Right.
I mean, that is the key, so that you really don't, take a tremendous hit. and you're able to really serve the people that are out there. So he's gonna come back. He'll work with y'all. He's gonna come back on some proposed locations that are high volume. A lot of those that will tag with ongoing programs at locations where we know they're already gonna be there.
They're gonna be there.
That's
We
right,
just
and
go
we'll,
ahead and- right.
we'll piggyback, which will be good.
And then, I mean, we still have our previous list that we used to have.
Yes, sir, and he has it. Yes, sir.
So,
It'll be good.
Right. A lot of those locations I know were
Yep, they were.
high volume areas. Thank you all.
It's all for the good of the order. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Chair, entertain a motion to adjourn. Second.
I would like to recognize Mr. Scott.
Okay, I think I got nothing good about everybody.
He's
a
real.
I'm just,
Yeah, but his mom is in my district and his sister's in my district, and I want to recognize him.
Smart man.
He sit through the whole program.
it's a long time coming.
Come again.
Come back. I take it it's adjourned, I'll go over here and shake my representative.
You can. You can.
Number one ball player.
Thanks, son.